What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. Now, if you remember about a month ago, I dropped a video about the fact that I want to actually do a C2 exam for Esperanto, and the reason being is because I want to actually know what it takes to pass one of those exams. So I looked into it, I discussed it in that video, and now the plan has pretty much been set in motion. So in August, I'm going to take the C1 exam for Esperanto, and then sometime next year, I'm going to take the C2 exam because there's a lot more preparation that's going to be required for that one. So for the C1 exam, I actually just got out of a meeting with some like exam preppers. They're basically like it's a person who will help you prepare for the exam, walk you through what the processes are, what's to be expected, also, you know, provide you with like recommendations about how you can better prepare for it, etc, etc. And that was basically a meeting that lasted like an hour and a half, and it was all in Esperanto. So this here is basically how the exam for C1 Esperanto is going to be broken down, and I am curious to hear from you guys who have done it in other languages, how like similar or different is it. Now, this is a proper European framework of reference exam. Like, this is actually a full-on legit exam. So this is what we can expect. So I'm going to be doing the both spoken exam and then also the written exam. So from my understanding, we're going to start with the spoken exam, which will actually start with you listening. I believe that's the case. Let me just have a look. That might be the case. It doesn't matter anyway. So I'll just talk about the spoken exam. So they start here with basically free speaking. So you're going to spend about 5 minutes just with the examiner, just chatting, basically warming you up for pretty much everything that's to come. So they'll ask you, questions about your life and stuff like that. Nothing, I'm guessing, too crazy. But then comes the next part, which is basically you have to present a topic on a you have to present something on a topic, okay? And it says here, on the basis of a picture. So they will give you a couple of pictures. It says actually two here. They'll give you two pictures. You have to choose one, and then you have to talk about it. Now, basically, what I was told is the best way to approach this is that imagine you're going to explain this picture to someone who's like blind. So explain the overall layout of the picture, where everything is in the picture, then the details of the picture, any people who are in the picture, describe their emotions, their actions, all this type of stuff. Just try going as much depth as you can to burn up that 5 minutes. Okay, the next one is a situational game. Now, this is C1 only. This is not for the B2 people and below. Basically, what happens here is they're going to present you with a specific situation, and then you just need to speak for 5 minutes. Let's say you're at a phone shop, you've got a problem with your phone, you've given it to them, they've just returned it, and you figured out that there's still a problem with this phone. And now you have to discuss this problem with them. And another example they gave was basically, imagine that you're a salesperson, you've got like these pots and pans and you're trying to sell them to a client, and the client, who's the examiner, is going to be like really hesitant about buying this, and you have to keep talking about all the amazing properties, okay? So you have to basically have like a little bit of skills in, I guess, different types of things, like even like just sales, because like I don't know anything about sales, so I have to practice that type of stuff. But there's like any situation you could imagine. Imagine that you've just encountered an accident, okay? And you're trying to explain to the police basically what you've seen, and they're going to like ask you questions or something like that. Next one is a text commentary. So basically you're going to be giving some type of text. Maybe it would be about some local government ordinance about, how you're going to deal with clothes that hang up on the balcony, like can you do this anymore, stuff like that. And then you have to provide your opinions on that, either for or against, and go into detail for like 5 minutes there. And then you've got the listening exam, and here what happens is we get two pieces, things we're going to listen to. So it might be some news article. It could be anything, realistically. And a good example they gave is actually of like Esperanto radio over here. So if I go click on the actual main page of this, let me just go back. You'll see like there's a article here about, liquid nitrogen as a fuel for electric aeroplanes. And then we've got a problem with tomatoes, and there's just this is like lots of different science stuff, the importance of saliva and stuff like that. Like, it's just random stuff like this. So you'll hear an article like this, and you can see it here. It lasts for about 4 minutes. And then as part of that exam, what will happen is we'll hear that the first time, and then we'll have basically a bunch of questions based on what we heard. and then we'll hear it for the second time, and then the last time we've got to like answer those questions. And then you get hit with another one, which will last, 4 or 5 minutes or whatever. And again, you got to do the same type of thing. Okay, now for the spoken, so that was the, what exam was that? That was the speaking exam. Okay, now, also, I'll kind of point out. So you get points. So you can get a maximum of 60 points for all of this, and then you can get a maximum of 30 points for this, but you also have minimum points you got to hit. So 24 here, 12 here. So even if I got 60 here and I got 0 here, I'd fail this completely. So you got to really kind of be good across the board type of thing. Now, for the written exam, we've got, so you've got a reading comprehension, 1 long or 2 short, edited, like, texts. These texts basically have like bits and pieces missing, and you've got to fill them in. Or then you've ever got other texts where you got to answer, is this true or is this false type of thing. And basically the examiner was saying that a lot of the time here it comes down to almost trying to trick you into like selecting the wrong choice. So you really got to pay attention when you're like doing this reading comprehension here. Now for this part here, what you do is you've actually got to write a letter, and you get basically given 2 different topics, and the letter might be something, for example, you're writing a letter to a friend to explain to them that you can't pick them up, and then you've got to explain like a bunch of other things as part of that letter. So you've got like maybe 5 topics in that letter you need to cover off on, but you also need to write the letter to the style that you're basically writing to. It could be a formal letter to a council, or like a politician, or it could be a friendly letter to a friend. And then you got to cover off on those 5 topics, but you can't say this is topic A, B, C, D. You got to cover them in the letter, but make it obvious enough for the examiners who are checking your letter that you're actually covering those topics. Okay, text understanding. I think I might have misunderstood. That might be actually up here, situation. Oh no, there's 2 parts. Oh, okay, so you've got like a written one as well. So one, up here, you basically got to do a text commentary based on, a audio topic, I guess they give you, or an examiner's topic. And then here you've got like a written text, basically commentary. And then down here, you've got basically language tasks. So you've got different types. So you've got grammatical tasks, lexicon tasks, you completing lists, transforming like, word types and stuff like that. And you'll notice here that you'll get like you need minimum 8 points for this reading section and 16 points for these letters and text commentary. But for the grammatical section, you can get a bunch of points, but you actually don't have to have a minimum, which is kind of curious to me, but interesting. So anyway, I went through that. I had a chat with the examiner, who was obviously not just chatting with me. There was a bunch of people in there. And I just asked for, recommendations of what I should do. And basically pretty much I should just study the hell out of these audio articles, just listen to as many of them as I can, learn as many words as I can type of thing. And then basically pick random pictures and just try to describe them all the time. Just pick another picture every single day, try to describe it for 5 minutes non-stop. Basically, they don't want to hear you and ahhing. You just have to talk for 5 minutes type of thing. And then what was the last one? Oh yeah, for situations, basically try create the most random situations. They gave us a list of some situations, but they said it could be anything in the world. Just maybe even go to ChatGPT, I guess, and just ask it to give me a random situation, and then I need to talk 5 minutes about that situation. Now, obviously, during the actual exam, I'll have people, bumping backwards and forwards with me. We'll go backwards and forwards with the examiner, but you just need to be able to talk about the most random situations, and then obviously tailor the vocabulary and the style of speech to that situation. Okay, so yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last hour and a half. And funnily enough, when I went into that, I already had a headache because I didn't have some good sleep yesterday. And now I'm going to go chillax because I've still kind of got a headache. But as of tomorrow, I'm going to start smashing these articles here and just learning as many new words as I can in order to pretty much just, expand my vocabulary as much as possible. And also, I guess, just sharpen it up because I'm pretty rusty with Esperanto. I haven't done too much with it in the last year, I guess. Oh, there's one last thing I want to mention. This is actually about the C2 exam, what the examiner said. They said most natives would not pass a C2 exam because a C2 exam is less about your language capabilities and it's more about a whole heap of other skills. So for example, the ability to write speeches and basically answer questions on those speeches and present them in a public type of scenario. And basically they said, only about 20% of natives most likely would pass a C2 in their own language. So it's it's not just something that everyone as a native gets. And additionally, they said if you feel like you could not do that in your native language, you're not going to be able to do that in your foreign language. So you should probably get good at like doing these types of skills in your foreign language. So I'm glad I decided to do the C2 next year so I can, have some prep time for that. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'll see you all in the next video. If you're not there, well then you're going to randomly wake up tomorrow finding yourself in an exam room doing C2 Klingon.